Bobby and I talked about this last night, about the possible deal with Marshon Lattimore. It looked to be it was sort of getting hot. A lot of teams trying to get into the mix. And the Commanders were not one of the early teams we heard about. There were a lot of others.
It was like the Chiefs were like the real main one. But then they said, I think Josina Anderson, they reported this around noon, that a bunch of teams were starting to throw their name into the hat. Obviously, they got a deal done with the Commanders, and as I mentioned in the Sports Flash, you get a third-round pick from Washington, a fourth-round pick from Washington, and a sixth-round pick that you sent to Washington in the John Ridgeway trade before the season started, and then you also send them a fifth-round pick.
And so I love to accumulate picks. It makes our job easier, certainly, on draft days,
yes, it does.
to talk about draft choices. But you got to pick the right guy. You can talk about all the picks. It's a Jimmy Johnson line. When Jimmy accumulated so many picks, man, Coach Johnson had, I think, 8 or 9 picks in the Herschel Walker trade. And he would always say, the picks are only great when you can pick the right guy. And so that's going to be the thing for the Saints, picking the right people with those 3 draft choices. Marshon Lattimore, I've said this many times, he's the best cornerback in the history of this franchise. And there's a big gap between 1 and 2. He's that good. He could start for any team in the National Football League. He's skilled, and we will always remember those battles, one-on-one with Mike Evans. And, man, they went at it. But, last couple years with Lattimore, it's been the health, getting him back on the field, and he sort of almost has tapped the brakes on getting back. I think a lot of people in that sort of facility felt he could come back quicker, but he didn't. So not many people would have put their hand way up in the air to go to the Washington Commanders. But because of Jaden Daniels, they got a lot of them that want to play for the Washington Commanders today. And I do know they like to play a lot of press man coverage. That is what Lattimore likes to do. He likes to get on top of that receiver and sort of bump him off his route right off the bat and then hang with him downfield.
That was the first thing that kind of popped up in my mind, is that Lattimore feels like the corner that Dan Quinn would like, right? And based off of what they've been building there, just this year, rookie quarterback and obviously the first-year head coach with Quinn, I mean, it was reported that a lot of people were like, send me to Washington. That's a team that's now 7-2, Mike. Like, think
One
about,
of them was Brandon Ayuk.
Well,
because he was pals with Jaden Daniels.
Yes, and we're talking about this team that was picking second in the draft this past year. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. How one young quarterback can change everything.
And I ain't hearing a lot of people tell you about they want to play for the Carolina Panthers.
That is true.
So we've had a lot of people ask about the cap hit for the Saints. So this is dead money for the Saints.
It's a lot
this
of it,
year,
too.
$14 million.
And then it goes up.
Then, in 2025, $31.6 million of dead money to deal off Marshon Lattimore. That's the cost of the kick the can.
But that's it.
That's it after 2025.
It's a huge hit.
It's a major hit. So, in many years, the team would go to the Bank of Breeze. Man, Drew didn't hit his chest on it. But if they needed money, restructure Drew's deal a little bit. Guess who's got a contract like that on this football team today?
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. Like it or not, they're going to have to go to Carr to redo and to get under the salary cap. Either that or they'd have to restructure probably 20 guys.
Mike, I think Carr's cap hit for next year, if I'm not mistaken, is upwards of $51 million.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the clear option for this team at this point. Now,
and for many people, we got to get rid of Derek Carr.
He's going to be here next year.
He's going to be here in 2025.
I agree.
I don't know what happens after that, but you're going to have to go to the Bank of Carr to bail yourself out in 2025. That's just the bottom line with it. It's not. That's not going to change because when you've kind of kicked this money can over and over again, eventually that credit card bill got to be paid.
It's an exciting move for Washington fans, I think, because that was the one area you're like, okay, well, their defense needs some work. They've been playing really well, Mike. I got to give them credit. but getting that star cornerback felt like a big need for them.
It's a big need position.
And they went out and got Lattimore. Now they send out 3 picks, and they get a 5th-round pick in return, so it's not like it's nothing. But they send out 3 picks to the Saints, and now the Saints have to start rebuilding this roster with draft capital. So, it's about quantity at this point, but you got to start hitting on these picks too, Mike. Get this young talent in this building, and just, at some point it was going to come to where the kicking the can down the road, like you were mentioning, Mike, you had to kind of deal with it at some point. And it seems like the Saints are finally starting to look to do it.